Teresa Mardesen is our
Mhm.
guest today. She's with Share Omaha, and it's a platform that works to find volunteers, increase donations, and so much more. And we're gonna have Teresa discuss that.
Yeah.
I won't dig into it. I'm familiar with it, but
Mhm. Welcome.
very excited. So welcome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, hello. You're listening to Oh My Omaha, the podcast, where we uncover inspiring things about our community through the stories of inspiring people who call it home. I am Dee Harrell, and this is the creator of Oh My Omaha, the blog, and the blogosphere's friendliest face herself, Kim Reiner.
Hi there.
Hey, Kim.
Hi there.
How are ya?
Good. Busy.
Yeah, running.
Yes, I've had a
Always
lot of
running.
caffeine, so I'm just wanted to keep being busy. So, it's
So
fun.
if you're jittery
Right.
during the episode, just to...
A tad too much.
Yeah, a little bit. How's
Yeah.
Kansas City?
It was great. So we had unusually warm weather. So
Yeah.
because we had these 2 outdoor things, Jingle the first night, and then this Renaissance Fair, Christmas,
Mhm.
called Nights of Lights the second night. And the kids had a blast.
It's out at Legends?
Yeah, the Jingle one was at like Speedway. And then if you're familiar with the Renaissance
Mhm.
Festival of Kansas City, it's in where they usually have that kind of summery activity.
Okay.
And so that second night, the ground was thawed because it was so warm,
Yeah.
and so it was muddy, and so we're just
Ooh.
kind of walking around, just certain one of us is just gonna bite it and just be covered in mud.
Did
But
you?
no, we didn't.
So it's very reminiscent of a possible, like, how it would be at the Renaissance Fair. all
Right, it
muddy
would be, and like, and
Glastonbury,
it
like.
fit because it was a Krampus theme weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And so like they had the
Yes.
people dressed up as Krampus tromping around, and
that's
so it just
amazing.
fit with like the atmosphere
feel of it?
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
was cool.
Cool.
And then just kind of so that was Kansas City, Kansas, and then on the way home, we went over to the Missouri side because I've just been dying to go to this museum called the Rabbit Hole,
You told me about it.
and it is amazing. It's
Is
a
it?
literary. It's pretty much a children's museum for children's books, like a literary. So it's immersive, walking into like your favorite
Oh.
books from childhood. And so like our kids are teenagers, and we went anyway because when they announced it several years ago, the kids were young enough that we're going.
Yeah.
And finally it's open. And so we took
Oh.
them, and I mean Charlotte still loved it. Henry humored us, but Charlotte
Yeah.
was all for taking pictures in the books that she knew, and it's
How much
beautiful.
was how much was the admission? And
It's $16 per person.
Okay.
And I mean, I think it's on par with most like children's museums
Yeah.
and museums in general. And like I mean, it's geared for little kids and like spaces for you to sit down and read the books that
right.
are the exhibits. But like an adult that loved reading books as a kid is gonna love it too.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I was like, I was in my happy place.
I think you just gave me a
It's
gift
beautiful.
idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Aurora doesn't listen to this because she's 9.
Okay,
So
there you go.
at least I'm going to give it away. I think she would love that.
And so like when we were walking through it, Meow Wolf.
Yep.
It's like a Meow Wolf for children's books mixed in with the City Museum of St. Louis,
Well,
where it's just like eclectic. Because the illustrations are so different in
Yeah.
each book, like each space is so unique.
oh, I
and it's
love
just-
that. Okay, cool.
So-
It's called Rabbit Hole.
the Rabbit Hole. And it's neat because they made it like they have this whole story behind it. Like they uncovered the rabbit hole,
Mm-hmm.
and they have fake signage of like with fake old pictures of
Oh.
like how we discovered the entrance to the rabbit hole, all these books. And so you have to walk through an underground kind of
Yeah.
feeling space before you get into the museum.
Love that.
And it's remarkable. It's cool.
That's cool. Okay, thank you for the gift idea.
So it was,
yeah,
welcome.
I fly out tomorrow
All
morning.
right. Goose
Really,
Miss, right?
Goose-Miss. Yeah, we're in Charleston over the weekend.
Fun.
I mean, yes, I can't
It'll be
wait.
fun.
It doesn't. It's funny because I was like, I don't feel like we're going, and and he's just like, it's nice to have that. Instead of having that like energy and all stoked beforehand, and then getting there and still being good,
Mhm.
I kind of dig those vacations where you're so busy and you're doing things all leading up, and then you're just able to have that heightened anticipation
Mhm.
when you're there, which makes it even that much better. Which
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't even think about it that way. Like, it doesn't feel like we're flying out tomorrow. It better because we fly out at 6:15 in the morning,
Yeah.
so I have to be packed here like shortly. But
Yeah.
Yeah, but just kind of going all over.
We have a last minute weekend trip planned for next weekend,
Oh,
like to so Ashland glamping.
oh yeah.
We're doing that.
You had talked
And so we'll
about
be
it.
staying like I've never done it like in stayed in one of those domes, like
Domes, yeah.
geophysical
Yeah.
domes. And so it times out because it's like the winter solstice, be like the longest night of the
Did.
year. And
Kevin might drop some Polyshore like biodome quotes on you.
I don't picture him as a Polly Shore fan.
Well,
We'll have to watch a movie.
we'll have to see. We'll have over and unders to see.
Yeah.
No, I want to see if he'll do it on his own. He may.
Right.
He just might. But that's cool. You talked about that before.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I love that.
So it's starting to feel real because like once we get through the craziness of finals next week and preparing for like family Christmases.
Yeah.
Then we have this getaway that'll be just relaxing with the kids.
Nice.
Well, out in nature.
For as much as we're talking about running around and everything, you and I both mentioned briefly once we received the bio of our guest today that we were both like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yes, lots. So why don't you introduce our guest today?
Yes. So Teresa Mardesen is our guest today. She's with Share Omaha, and it's a platform that works to find volunteers, increase donations, and so much more. And we're gonna have Teresa discuss that.
Yeah,
I won't dig into it. I'm familiar with it, but
welcome.
Very excited. So welcome.
Yeah. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm familiar with it too. We worked with Share Omaha when I was at Connecco. Yeah, and so that's how I became mostly familiar with Share Omaha. But I was first introduced through Omaha Magazine.
Cool.
Yeah, with Bill Sitzman. So yeah, welcome so much. So happy to have you.
Thank you.
So I've used Share Omaha with my family to find opportunities to volunteer together, and we've had a lot of luck with that. It's been amazing. But how about you explain to our guests a little bit about Share Omaha for those who are unfamiliar?
Yeah, so shareomaha.org, like you said, is a platform where you can find ways to volunteer, find places to donate to, shopping wish list items, or fundraising events. But that's not, I like to quantify it because any given day, there's 470 to 500 volunteer needs in this metro.
Wow.
And we have 600 plus nonprofit organizations who post their volunteer needs whenever they need them. So you are right on track to go there and look for volunteer ideas and needs. Donations can search for nonprofits that you maybe are familiar with and want to keep supporting, or is there a certain cause you care about, but maybe there's a nonprofit that is doing some niche work for that cause that you want to learn about. So I always encourage people to, sure, you can search alphabetically for a nonprofit you're already aware of, but also search the causes on shareomaha.org. Because if you're interested in veterans or housing, or, what are some of those issues, or maybe it's a certain health issue that someone close to you is going through. Okay, start searching that cause area. We go by cause area, but then when you dig down, there's more than like 130 ways to link and search for ways to donate or volunteer. Shopping wish list items. Any given day, there's about 2,800 to 3,000 shopping wish list items. You all were talking about places to go and ideas for those who like to have something very tangible to donate. Sometimes I like to know, okay, I want to donate $25, but gosh, or $100. I really want to know exactly what it's going to do. Well, that's what I encourage the shopping wish list items for, because nonprofits will, list, we need 8 STEM kits for the afternoon at, Kids Can, or, and I look, so I love knowing that, I can just buy it. It's shipped, goes exactly where it needs to go. The nonprofit has the distribution channel. They know they have the process to get it to who needs it. So that's what that's for. And then the fundraising events. Fundraising, of course, not just a way to raise money, and, nonprofits have those events, but wow, have I learned a lot about nonprofits at fundraisers.
Yeah.
You really learn the real stories. So I highly encourage people in the community to attend events for that reason alone. And you can search those events on shareomaha.org. Within the volunteering, there's also, all nonprofits have a, most do, some are small, some are big, a board.
Mhm.
And so part of volunteering is also board service or, like an advisory committee. Some nonprofits have junior boards for college students or high school students who want to start learning that process. So I also encourage to go to Share Omaha. That's another thing that Share Omaha does is look for board or advisory committee
Huh.
needs. Um, even if you just want to window shop,
Yeah.
what's out there for, serving on a board or advisory committee or just getting involved in a fundraising event for a nonprofit. Or maybe they just need a co-chair or two. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's another way to search, another way to think in terms of volunteering.
Oh, that's great. I
So-
never really thought about it in that way.
Mhm.
Yeah. And the boards that I've ever been on, it's just been, from my participation or my interest in it. But
Mhm.
that's awesome. I didn't even think about utilizing
Mhm.
Share Omaha in that way.
Yeah. And, scratch the leadership itch, right?
Yeah.
If that's something you're interested in too. So
Yeah.
another reason to look into that. So.
So when I've used Share Omaha to find volunteer opportunities, obviously I can imagine there are some very popular categories like animals, for instance, or
Right.
something like that. And we were talking earlier, and I was curious if you could share some ideas on some of the types of volunteer work that might be like people haven't thought of or
Yeah.
that are just
Yeah.
hard to fill. What are some of those?
Right. So I learned before I came to Share Omaha, I worked for a company and I developed a volunteer program for the company. And we did Dollars for Doers. So within Omaha, our home office, we had 800 employees. So I launched this volunteer program, but I needed to help 800 people find volunteer,
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, well, what are people interested in? What do people's schedules look like? Um, do people want to work in a group or solo? Sometimes people will say, I just talk to people all day. I just want to volunteer by myself somewhere. Great. So that's what the beauty of Share Omaha is, because when I was at the company I worked for, I would get employees that say, okay, I'm available 2 Thursdays from now. Um, but I just had knee surgery. And it's summer, so I can't really go work in a garden, but what do you have for me? So you can search by skills, time of day, solo or as a group. You had asked, what are some of the more unique ones? Sometimes I just ask people, what do you want to, what do you enjoy? What do you do for stress relief?
Yeah.
Just give me something with task at hand. Great. Nebraska Diaper Bank needs people to wrap diapers for 75 minutes. And so that's a good example and then you learn behind all that is, well, why are we wrapping diapers for certain quantities? Oh, it's because there were studies done that there's a certain quantity of diapers where a family may be deciding between diapers or food. Okay, so let's make sure these families have diapers for the month so that they don't have to worry about that and they can provide food for the family.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's fun. If your task at hand is just like put me to work. Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of a fun one. We did that with my son and his hockey team. And that's a great thing to do for high school too.
Yeah.
And like you need your NHS hours, or if you're the team parent who volunteered to set up the team bonding event, go to shareomaha.org, find a volunteer thing. It won't cost anything and they will bond. They will, do something as a group. I'm interested in poetry and just writing and expression. So I did this last summer and I loved it. The Nebraska Writers Collective needs judges for their poetry slam. Have you done that?
No, I haven't. I
Oh,
haven't
it's so
judged it. No, I had some of my friends that participated.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring.
Yeah.
And it's a blast.
Yeah.
So in Omaha, but I think they also do them in Lincoln too. So that's something to look into.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a writer
Right.
or know about poetry. I love Mary Oliver, but you don't have to,
see.
you don't have to know everything.
That's awesome.
Right.
You dropped Mary Oliver and we're instant friends.
Right. Oh yeah. But yeah, it's just fun. You're just encouraging people. And by the way, you will be inspired by people in the community who are like, I work in IT, but I also write poetry. Or high school students are doing their, competition for forensics or poetry. And they're using that to just get some reps in for performing. So that was fun. Poetry
awesome.
judge. I like to ask people for unique volunteering is, okay, what is something you learned growing up that you don't do at your job now, you haven't really done for a while, but if asked, you could still do it. So you could go to shareomaha.org and look for skills like crocheting, knitting, woodworking. Um, um,
I like you mentioned the baking the cakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cake
It's a
for
unique
kids.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming up on holiday
Right.
break. Kids are like, what do we do? We're bored. You know, the famous question, what do we do? We're bored. Oh, I got something for you, right? Bake a Cake, Cake for Kids. It's a nonprofit who gets all the information about a family who has a kid with a birthday. And I remember when my kids were little, it's very expensive. That birthday cake is expensive when you're doing, paying for all the other stuff, just to make sure that child has a cake on their birthday. And so you just bake the cake in your own kitchen at home, or maybe it's at work with your, maybe you have a kitchen at work with your teammates at work, baking a cake. You just go to Cake for Kids and there's a schedule, there's what they need. It's all there. How to get it there. Right? That's an amazing one. So it's really timely to think about that. Cause my kids are in college now, but I think when they're little, like, oh, what do we do over holiday break? And that's another thing to look at too, is there's always something to do every day. There is, there's always like, Neighbor Good or food pantries, Food Bank for the Heartland. Churches have food pantries. There's always needs for sorting, Heart Ministry Center. Let's see. Oh, this one's good. You can also search by age group. So if you have little, age 5 to 10, well, there's certain things that they're going to get bored after a while. I mean, I might get bored after a while, or, but like what's appropriate. So a volunteer event I did was with the Humane Society, and they get snacks for the pups and cats donated. But the project was, we need them, they're in sticks, and we need them broken down into 1-inch, little tidbits. So that was good for 5 and 6-year-olds, because it's like, okay, 1 inch, So when we have age appropriate, that's what we're talking about. It's like, 5 or 6-year-old would enjoy this project with mom or dad or grandma or whatever. There's Sleep in Heavenly Peace. I'd mentioned if someone taught you woodworking, or you really just have to hammer a nail. If you know how to hammer a nail, you can help Sleep in Heavenly Peace. It's a nonprofit that makes bed frames for kids in the metro any given day. The statistic, I hope it's changed, but last I heard was 14,000 kids in Omaha don't have a bed to sleep in at night. And so the whole purpose is, let's make sure they have a bed. So there's companies that'll organize a mass event. So that's another one, Sleep in Heavenly Peace. There's grab and go volunteering. Every nonprofit, because we humans love handwritten still. Before anything else, when you all go get the mail tonight, you're going to open your handwritten thing before the bills that are typed, right? Especially around the holidays. But just writing thank you notes for nonprofits, for their donors, because that takes a lot of time, and it's so important. But that keeps the nonprofit focused on the mission. And then, kids can do it. I have, my mom helps out with writing thank yous, because that's something she can do from home. So that's other. There's, I know a gentleman who is like, I talk to people all day long, and I get enough of that. Every Monday night, he works in a warehouse for a nonprofit. I believe it's the Furniture Project, but cleans the floors of the warehouse. And he's like, it's the best 2 hours of my week, because it's quiet, and I, can focus on that.
That's cool.
So any time of day, you literally could volunteer during the night. If you're a college student and you're up late studying and you want to take a break and just write thank yous, or inspiration cards. Project Harmony, Omaha Home for Boys needs inspiration cards. Salvation Army, Omaha for Us. I could go on and on.
So you've done. So we were looking at your bio, and you've done so much volunteer work in your career, and I was just curious, because the variety. It's so you've covered so many things. You mentioned poetry, but what have been some of the volunteer experiences that you've had that have had an impact on your life?
They all do. But when you said that, here's what came to mind. I volunteered for Mosaic actually a few times at my corporate job when I was doing a volunteer program, and, serving folks with intellectual disabilities. And when I asked myself, what do you like to do? Like, I love cleaning. Isn't it fun to clean other people's houses or other people's stuff?
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Right? So when they had said, you know what, we need our vans cleaned it was like every August. The vans that transport, if they're going to, take in a class or whatever, amazing. Because while, I'm not trained to work with their staff, I love that because I'm a task at hand person. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'll clean their vans. It'd be great. So we clean their vans, send them to the car wash. So that left an imprint, even if it is just cleaning vans. It's like,
Yeah.
well, how can that be? Well, because think of how many people it would take and their staff to take away from the people they're serving to clean those vans, and how important it is to have a nice clean van for the transport to the, the thing that they're looking forward to that day,
Yeah.
etc. So that had an impact on me. Like I said, the poetry slam, everything I do is an impact. Oh, Blue Bucket Project. That's another one too, is just help clean up a city block. That's just a good,
cool.
if you like to be outside. And that's the other thing too. It's like you can search by outdoors, indoors, by myself, after hours, or I work second shift. I can actually volunteer during the day for, for some time. There's so much. I mean, like I said, 470 to 500 volunteer needs. There's always serving meals. There's, I love the thing that has impact on me too is like, at my previous position, we were very focused on food insecurity, but the three areas of like immediate need for hunger, breaking the hunger cycle, right? But then also food rescue. So there's places to go that like address all three of those. One is Whispering Roots and Saving Grace, Saving Grace rescues the food. And then a place like Whispering Roots takes the food, has a chef, packages meals that are fully edible and nutritional, and they have the distribution channel set up for the next day to take those meals. It's usually like 250 to 280 meals.
Yeah.
Amazing meals. And we would do that as a group of like 8 to 10. So that'd be a great thing for, anyone, but like high school students, or another one is CRIC with refugee empowerment. And just, had an impression on me too, was just helping someone get set up in their home, just how good it feels. I mean, you're getting a workout because you're loading up mattresses, but you're also organizing their house and get everything set for their kitchen. They're coming from a place where, wow, they're starting a new life, and you get to help them. So that's really neat too.
That's one that we did with our kids.
You
we
did?
helped
Good.
And it was interesting because it was a family from South Sudan, and they had children. They had twins that were my daughter's age, and there was a language barrier, but they really wanted to play together. And we brought the mom and the kids to a park and showed them where a park was nearby. And then that was when I was working at Omaha Children's Museum. So I was like, here, I'm going to show you someplace amazing.
Yeah.
And my daughter still remembers them
See,
to this day.
she remembers it.
They were still like 5 or 6 years old, I think.
It's big.
Yeah.
We did, when I was at CAPS, when I had a program at Westside, part of the grant was to do a lot of volunteer work, but also, the high school students, they had to get their service learning hours in.
Right.
And because of the nature of it was a professional development and life skills development grant.
Right.
And so because of the nature of that, we were able to not only volunteer for a lot of organizations and different causes, it gave them the opportunity to job shadow, get the foot in the door professionally wise with some of these organizations and different companies that were contributing. And a lot of it was a little channel for them to get their foot in the door and get employment. Some of them work there, they get tuition reimbursement. It's just this, it's the giving and the getting, in the sense of the incentivizing, and you wish that we all just had this like drive to just do and give, right? But we do, people have busy lives, but there is a way to incentivize or motivate people to give back to the community in that way. And that's like a really cool vein that people don't really think about for young people, right? It's just, it has such a lasting impact. But we did stuff with a lot of healthcare because of the grant. So there's QLI we worked with quite a lot.
QLI.
Amazing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One of a kind. They're the only ones.
Right. And you'll never forget it.
No, it's wonderful. And we did do food bank for the Heartland every week because we were down the street on 108th. And so we would, my students, I had them for the afternoon, and we would have schedules on who would go over and help at the food bank. And then the different hospitals, they did like healthcare camps. They helped coordinate professional days for other students to experience. And it was the funny thing about giving in that way is that it has momentum, and
Mhm.
it does feel really good. And people don't know how good it feels until they do it, and then they're just like, oh, what else can we do? And then it
Absolutely.
snowballs, which is awesome in that way. We ran the half marathon in Lincoln every year for Project Purple, or it was Project Purple for uh, pancreatic cancer.
Ah, awesome.
Yeah, and so they just fundraised. We went for children's. We did the run every
Great.
like in the fall. So it's just kind of those things that just like get people out there.
Yeah.
They'll do it, and they love.
Do what you love to do anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm like. Do you like to run? Or like, how do you relieve stress?
Yeah.
Oh, I run. Oh, great.
Cool.
There's a volunteer
Yeah.
need for you, and you remember it. It
Yeah.
had an
Oh, yeah.
impact.
I mean, my students to this day, like they'll send me pictures from like those opportunities,
Mhm.
particularly because that you will bond. There's absolutely,
Right.
I mean, I don't know what the statistics are. I don't have any data on it,
Right.
but there's no way you could not bond in those
Right.
moments.
And people love to learn something new.
Yeah.
I often, teammates would come back and say, "Oh my gosh, Teresa, I had no idea," and I would do the same thing. But that's
Mhm.
probably why your children remember that. Like, "Oh my gosh, that was so great. That
Yeah.
was eye opening." Or with the running for the pancreatic cancer
Mhm.
event, you learn something there too,
Yeah.
and the camaraderie and the community. That is contagious, and people want to build on that. It
Mhm.
happens naturally.
It does.
And I always say, everybody's busy, but even if you just volunteer once a year,
Yeah.
in a year,
Mhm.
and like an hour and a half volunteer thing,
Yep.
you'll remember it. And there's a good chance you'll tell somebody about it. Or maybe it was like, oh, that was fun, but I want to try this. But you'll tell a friend or a family member about it,
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I love what you brought up. The running. Yeah. Mhm.
It is. There's a way to really feel it. It's like the
Mhm.
shower for the soul almost, right?
Mhm.
Is the catharsis of it, being able to like, okay, when we ran for team and training, we were just like, how do we not
Right.
train? How do we not run when we're running in honor of these little ones
Mhm.
that are fighting cancer? Like, it's just with that whole thing of like, oh, like you learn so much from
Yes.
doing those things because you just challenge yourself in ways that you the everyday motivation or incentives aren't really
Mhm.
there. You're doing it now, like it's not just a purpose for in the sense of like the
Mhm.
greater picture, but it's like purposeful to you. It's purposeful
Yes.
to the organization, to the person you're running for. Like
Mhm.
it just is a whole. It affects everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you said it showers the soul.
Yeah.
That's so great
Yeah.
because it showers
Mhm.
the soul of the people you're helping, but you nailed
Right.
it for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. I love it.
I mean, yeah, that's cool.
So
So,
cool.
you mentioned hockey, your son's hockey team, and your
Mhm.
project. Did you do any volunteer work with your kids when they were younger, or
Yeah.
what things did you do?
My daughter, with Girl Scouts, we volunteered at the Child Saving Institute. They just need a little set up art projects done. So that was perfect. When the girls were younger, they loved doing that. Another one was we would do cards. This was years ago, but we would do cards for the Children's Hospital
Yeah.
and just like cards for, around holidays or Valentine's. Like, okay, let's make cards for kids who are going to be in the hospital during that time and delivering them. So that was meaningful because when you're, any age,
Yeah.
when you impact your peers, especially when you're little and thinking about someone else little like me and helping out then. We would always, and then, go sing at certain community centers. We would do that with kids. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we would do the food bank. I mentioned the Humane Society, doing the cards, the inspiration cards.
Yeah.
I like doing that because even when we were the busiest with kids, it's like, you know what, we can still do this. We can still do inspiration cards because that's important when you're a kid and you're getting the backpack of meals for the weekend. It's just nice to see a little card from someone whose handwriting looks
Yeah.
like age 9, like you,
Mhm.
and it's just really maintains dignity in the whole thing. So
Yeah.
trying to teach that to kids too and adults, myself.
Mhm.
That's good learning for me too. Um, Intercultural Senior Center
Mm.
is another one. You serve meals, but then depending on the activity after that, you could go play pool, you
Mhm.
could play cards, you could call bingo, you could do karaoke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like, what skills do you have? Oh, you crochet or you know how to sew, or
Mhm.
oh, you're a teenager or middle schooler. I tell you what, there's a lot of people who just need a little bit of help me interact with social media with my grandkids. And, that's just a cool thing to, mentor mentee for a brief moment between, age groups. So there's that. There's so many places and ways to volunteer. There's always, sorting of donations. That's always a need. And sometimes it's just any given day, a nonprofit might be like, okay, we have these new shelves we need to, which anybody can put together, but the time. So it's like they'll post, we need 5 shelves put together. It'll take 45 minutes. We need 5 people, things like that.
You're right. There are things that we just don't even think about, that where we could donate our time or help. We think about some of the more popular ones most of the time in talking to people, but you're so right. Like even Habitat for Humanity Restore, we worked with them quite a bit. And one of the most challenging days, I was so thankful that I had like a whole slew of students that day, because they had there was a hotel that was going to be demolished, and they had donated all of the furniture to the Restore.
Oh, awesome. Repurpose.
But there was like 3 big truckloads of furniture from this hotel. We had to unload it. And then we had to inspect it, clean it for them to, it was, and we were there for the whole, almost an entire day. And, but you were just like, whoa, you don't really think about it. You go shop at the Restore, you're like, oh, there's 2 tables that look the same. Cool, I'm going to get it. But you don't realize that there's 300 other ones that came from a place that was, there are a lot of steps that we don't see in the regular, and it's so needed. It is I was like, well, were they going to you 2 guys were going to do it if we didn't come today? I was like, you're just kind of like, whoa, thank goodness we were able to come this particular day, but
Isn't it great what work happens behind the scenes to repurpose. And I mean, that's what we should be good at is, this is still useful. And I love when someone has found a way to, what it took to get to the, to restore for that moment. Yeah.
It's amazing. So, I along those same lines, I just love the whole wave or the momentum of repurposing, as we really face the whole challenges of the climate crisis and all of the trash that we have in this world, and how do we reduce it? How do you reduce anything that's not going anywhere? Right. It's the matter of what can we do with it now? And it's so cool to see what people are doing, particularly in communities where they're, maybe the resources are low. They're like, oh yeah, we'll take all of that wood from that barn and we will make an entire facility out of it. Or we will, and teaching kids and young people to do that at a young age is such a cool thing. It leaves such an impression on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Dig that so much.
There's so many things that so many age levels can do. Even coloring, coloring for kids is so much fun, but I volunteered at the Kim Foundation, and they just had certain messages, and they just had people color, and there were adults and kids, all of us together, and it was great, because I'll admit it, I love coloring. It's very therapeutic. It's amazing. So to that point, but then understanding why me coloring this today is so important, and how did they find out who needs what so classrooms need this, and what messages, and what where's this going to go now. And
okay, so are you from Omaha, born and raised?
So I grew up in western Iowa, near Panama, Iowa, and it's near Heartland, Iowa. But I have lived in Omaha almost 30 years. So I feel like I'm still being raised, right?
Always. 100%.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do in your downtime?
So in my downtime, right. So I do, I volunteer because, part of what Share Omaha does is we also volunteer through the year. We all make a point to volunteer at least 40 hours during the year, just to learn more about nonprofits and, about our nonprofit members. But in my downtime, not that exciting, but I tell you what, I love to read and I love to run. Yeah. So to your point, running, there's plenty of volunteering needed. Running for me is a great way to blow out the mental cobwebs, and it just feels good. Has so many benefits, right? But then reading, I love to read. Yeah. So maybe part of why I love judging poetry slams so much, because I love that creativity and all that. But that's what I do in my downtime.
What any good books that you read?
Okay, so the one I'm reading right now, and I'm not done, but I'm telling you, so far it's great. So I know it's going to be worth it. It'll be good till the end. The 5 a.m. Club. And I'm a morning person anyway, but it's this story about just kind of like evolving your life just by being part of the 5 a.m. club and
Cool.
being up early. And I know what that means because I love that time of day.
Yeah.
So I'm loving that book. That's awesome. One I wrote, or I didn't write. Oh, someday maybe. I just read also is Nap Ministry.
Oh, I just read something about that the other
Yes.
day.
So it's amazing.
Yeah.
Trisha Hershey. But it's about, you know how if we take a nap, we might feel bad. Like, no, napping is good. It is an activity and it is so needed, but it really gets into why.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that was good. And just so many reasons, like, no, we're supposed to chill. We're supposed to, so that we're energized for another time, or just like we say, meditate. One other thing is nap. So Nap Ministry is a good book. Another one is Go Walk. And as you can see, there's a theme here. I like walking and running. So that's another one too, just like the daily walk, and just to get your body moving and what it does for you mentally. So that's another one that's great. When the kids were growing up, spare time meant not spare time as in running them everywhere, and hockey and show choir and Girl Scouts and everything, and sports. And but now they're in college, so what we do is, our rule is when they come home, or if they're home for a little bit, our rule in Omaha with my husband and I and the two of them is go to a new restaurant that none of us have been to. It's like, because it's like, when we're all like, oh, let's go out. Where should we go? Oh, we can't decide. Well, if the rule is somewhere where we've never been, okay. Cool. So that's just something we do as a family that has kind of evolved. And
I might have to steal that. That's great.
Yep. And you have different conversations.
Did you find any great ones recently, or like?
Okay, so a few weeks ago we went to Dirty Birds, and it's so that was amazing. That was on our list for a while. Kids loved it, especially. So it was. I mean, of all the things, the hush puppies, but then also the pancakes. But everything. It's chicken. And then the other one is Cleo.
Yeah,
I think it's 12th and Howard, Mediterranean.
It is. It's 12th and Howard. It's the old Phillies.
Right. Oh, I want to go there.
It's great. And the drinks are spectacularly beautiful. I have a lot of eating restrictions. They were, when I say that they were accommodating, that's like an understatement. They were overly, they were very, the entire staff was very well versed on what to do if somebody had a certain condition and whatnot, and what kind of steps they should do.
Oh, that's great.
They brought everything separate. Nothing was touching. They had special plates that and they were very
amazing,
forthcoming with the information. Which is so much helpful because when you're somebody like me, you're like, I sound like Meg Ryan, and
you don't want
to just be like, the whole time, right? But when somebody does it for you, you're like, oh, thank you. But the drinks are gorgeous, and they're so curated. Like the flavors are, I can't even. I loved it. Loved it.
And then the entire restaurant is gorgeous,
beautiful.
The walls, the chairs, everything. So it's just all beauty, and then everything.
I was delicious. What white sound do they have in this place? Because you're pretty close quartered, right? It's but I can't hear what these people are saying, and I can't. Thank God they can't hear what you know what I mean. Like, I'm just like it's so beautiful.
Well designed
well designed. Well, everything is so well thought there.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are my recent ones. We've college break. So we've got, we're working on our list, so we'll see.
Yeah. So do you write poetry?
Okay. Yes, but just because just getting started, not like just for fun. That's all, which is fine. Right.
Yeah.
It's like asking someone, are you an artist? And it's like, everyone's an artist. Yeah. If you ask little kids, who's an artist? They all raise their hands. If you ask adults,
Right.
So,
yeah. I ask because I'm still in the process of writing my first poetry book.
It's been a while.
Awesome.
Years. It's
wonderful,
all consuming. But Mary Oliver is definitely one of my favorites. Like she's awesome. I'm like totally different ends of the spectrum. I have like my Mary Oliver, and then it gets a little more darker. I got like Sylvia, and I got like
Have you read Billy Collins?
Yes.
He spoke at my college, and I
That's
still
right.
remember
We
him,
talked
I'm
about
like,
Billy Collins.
oh, he's just.
But I
See,
love
that's
Bukowski. Like, and honestly,
entertaining.
the one at the top, he's like the darkest and with the most raunchy, but it's such a beautifulness in the like. He's like awesome. I love
Right.
that you. I love
Well,
that
and
you did that.
if it's like dark or not or beautiful and whatever, it just makes you think.
Yeah.
And it's so creative and lovely.
It's like
So,
lyrics. It's like why I love Dylan, right? Like you think about
right.
there's such a if anything that can make you feel that way,
Right.
Yeah.
whether it's running or poetry or
That's
whatever
right.
it is.
It's an escape.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Shower for the soul.
it is a shower for the soul.
Which is a good kind of segue finally for like our final question of the episode. Where do you find inspiration in Omaha?
My goodness. Of all the places, I have to be honest. When I walk around Lake Cunningham, because it's so beautiful,
it is,
and it's just downtime and quiet, and maybe it's probably you're seeing a theme here at Mary Oliver and nature, and that's where I get inspiration, and so that's just my favorite walk. So there you go.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Besides all the great restaurants and all the things and volunteering and all learning, the greatest inspiration is in nature and like.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Good long walk around Lake Cunningham.
I feel like I need to tell you guys this because last night, for whatever reason, was one of those nights where we planted ourselves on the couch and ate, and then realized we were just watching a bunch of new things. But it was so wonderful. I was like, we have cried so much tonight. We started with the new Jamie Foxx. What happened to Jamie Foxx on Netflix? Highly recommend the show because I don't know if you know anything that happened to him. He had this big health scare, but it was like hush hush and nobody. But it's so good. But then we watched this short on Netflix, and it's called it's about Michaela, and she has autism, and she is completely mute. Like she has not spoken. She's nonverbal, and she worked with this wonderful this therapist and teacher who taught her to use a letterboard, and she finally had this voice, and she speaks and thinks in poetry. Like it is. The minute it opened, it had, and I'm not giving it away, but it was the coolest thing they ever did was that they had the voice she got to pick the voice talent to depict her voice in this documentary. Amazing. And then so then every time they narrated, she was narrating, it was in this voice that she got to pick in the words that she said. And she said something really beautiful about the silence of wind. Like she gets so much like comfort and like there's so much beauty in the silence of wind and the things that the unforgotten, unseen, and behind. I was like just bawling.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So sorry.
Thank you for bringing that. Yeah.
You just said something that I was like,
I love it.
No, she needs to know about it. It's 24 minutes. And I cried the entire, I was like the whole time. It's such a great thing.
I love that. I need that. That's why I'm like,
cool. Yeah. I love it. Sorry, I totally didn't mean to go off cuff there, but it was, you guys said something that definitely was like, oh, I have to, It's so cool. Yeah.
Cool. We started introducing the kids to like shorts and documentary shorts.
Yes.
Because Henry's getting interested in like the Oscars and what makes a film
right
above, superb or whatever. And so we're like, well, we can start watching some of these shorts and
there's some shorts are some of the best ones. Because it doesn't exhaust. There's so much being able, and there's some of the greatest stories in some.
And I'm always like just amazed, like it would be harder to do a short than a long. It's like Mark Twain. I was going to write you a short letter, but that would take too much time. So I'm writing you a long one instead. Like,
oh my gosh, I say that.
Having a meaningful short, that would be so hard. So a good one, like how do you tell a story that's so powerful and impactful in such a short time?
There was one on, I think
that's amazing.
Disney that has one that I don't think they won, but it was nominated this past year on a music program in LA where they repair instruments and then give them to students in public school so they can perform. And so they're talking to different students. And then they talk to the volunteers on why they are helping repair these instruments and what their stories are.
That's great.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is there anything that you wanted to mention about Share Omaha that we didn't get to, or
Share Omaha just needs in the community. We know this needs are 24/7, 365 every day. So I always say volunteering is always in season. Now we're in the season of the holidays, but just remember that all year long, and January, February, March, especially February, is when nonprofits really need, and they need to get going again. They need volunteers. So I just encourage people to be looking all year round and just poke around and look and at least search by skills or time of day or learn about a nonprofit. Just poke around and learn something. Any time of year.
Yeah.
And then if you enjoy doing it, tell a friend.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
It was so good. Thank you.
And I got some new poetry books to buy. I've got some new things to watch. This is great.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to Oh My Omaha, the podcast. We want to thank our guest, Heartland Media, all of you for your support, and the Omaha community at large.
So from Dee and I, keep on exploring.